Hi, everyone. Welcome to Leading with Purpose. I'm Rob Winings, a regional Vistage chair, and today I'm joined by award-winning Vistage speaker, Brent Robertson. Brent has spent more than 25 years helping leaders and teams unlock their greatest potential. And today, through his firm, Be Generative, he guides executives across North America with innovative programs focused on leadership, purpose, and what he calls generative listening. In this episode, we'll give you a preview of his upcoming session with my Vistage group next month, where Brent will challenge us to rethink what it means to truly listen and how that can transform the future of your organization. Brent, welcome to Leading with Purpose.
Thank you, Rob. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah, fantastic. So Brent, as I mentioned in the intro here, our upcoming session is called Generative Listening. And like me, most people think listening is just means paying attention to what someone's words are. But as you describe, it's really something much bigger, a way to actually shape our future. So tell me what you mean by that.
It's an interesting thing, Rob, where this idea of listening is, obviously seen as an incredibly important, if not vital attribute of great leadership. And yet the typical ways that we think about listening is that it has to do with skills. And certainly skills are important when it comes to listening. We use the phrase active listening and being present in the conversation, and those things are critical, but they don't really answer the fundamental question, what's listening for? And what's important to understand about really the framework around generative listening is to understand that conversations, the things we talk about, is where our attention goes. The things we talk about is how we navigate and begin to understand the experience of the world around us. The conversations are where we come into relationship with each other. But what gives rise to conversations? And that's where listening plays such an important part to understand this idea, which is listening is the foundation in which conversations exist. In the absence of listening, there is no conversation. It's just
Hmm.
noise, right? And
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have, and one of the centerpieces of generative listening that we'll certainly spend time on with the group is this concept of listening is our ability to create space where conversations come into existence inside of. And you mentioned, the idea of shaping futures.
Yeah.
One of the things that is certainly true about our listening is that we have this thing called an automatic listening, which has to do with where in time we listen from by default. And that space that we listen from tends to be what is and what's been. It's past based. We tend to sort of orient our listening to the familiar, which leaves at bay the unfamiliar or what isn't yet true or something that we haven't yet experienced. And so if we simply just move our listening past our automatic, it opens us up into this beautiful space. And you could even pull up that little diagram to sort of make the point that our listening is this ability to create space. And that space is this vast and infinite space. That blue circle here indicates where we listen by default. And when we do this, and we do it inadvertently because we're just sort of used to it, normalized to it, it's literally like trying to navigate our lives with two hands tied behind our backs, or trying to
Hmm.
navigate our businesses with two hands tied behind our back. Through the generative listening experience that your group's going to be having is to really move into these other domains colored in green and red to better understand this innate capacity for listening that we have, we're born with, and are no longer using for a variety of reasons,
Hmm.
and to come back into relationship with these domains of listening, and use them as really this incredible leverage as a leader to be able to literally shape the nature of the conversations that we engage in, including conversations that have to do with the future that we want.
Yeah, yeah. You know, uh, we talked before, and you talk about leaders often find themselves kind of in the same conversation, hitting the same wall over and over. Uh, why does that happen? And what's the cost of staying in those repetitive loops?
Yeah, there is this sort of echo chamber effect, and it's best understood if you are ever experiencing hearing the words, if we can just get through. If we can just get to the next day, we can just get to the next milestone, and all of those symptoms of the fact that we start to build an experience where basically what we have is make the best of the day that we've got, but the future we have little influence over because it's just going to come run us over tomorrow. The reason that we have those experiences is because we keep asking ourselves and our businesses the same questions. When we keep asking the same questions, we keep having the same conversations. And of course, if we remember what we talk about is where our attention goes, we keep putting our attention on the same things over and over again. And then we scratch our heads and wondering, like, why does the past keep repeating itself? Even though we accomplished this thing or we got that head count, we're still confronting the same issues over and over again. The culprit is that we keep asking the same questions. But what would
Yeah,
happen if we asked different questions? It opens us up into sort of rooms of conversation that we rarely go into. And when we move into those other rooms, we start to see the world in a different way. Like, what if we
yeah,
looked at the present state from the future ideal? What would we
mm,
say about that? And what would we
yeah,
be putting our attention on that would get us closer to the future we want instead of just trying to manage the current reality the best that we can?
yeah. Excellent. Great. So, Brent, we've got a big group coming in on September 18th. Uh, if you're a CEO and we attend this session, you walk out, what's one practical, maybe shift in the way people might listen or how they might apply with their team or their board after a session with you?
There's a couple of provocative ideas that I will share. One is that if you want to be heard, you need to speak into the listening that's available to you. And
Mhm.
so what does that mean to a leader? It means your first job is to find out where your people are, meet them there, and then you have a chance of moving them into the conversation that you want to have. The second principle is that if you want to sincerely listen another, you need to listen yourself first. If we aren't actually listening ourselves, we end up distorting what we're hearing through our own ideas about the world, our own programming, our own fears, our own traumas, our own desires. And we end up with a distorted view of what's actually being discussed. And we, hang all these, judgment calls on whatever it is that we're hearing, whether or not it fits our worldview or not. And so
Yeah,
to truly listen another means to be mindful that those things are always going to show up so that we can put them aside and approach the conversation as if you're meeting the person for the first time, to approach a conversation with infinite curiosity about the nature of maybe what's behind what's being said, what motivations or intentions are lying in the background that we often don't expose. Or even one of my favorites, we don't often even expose what kind of thinking is in the background of what somebody's suggestion is. We just judge whether or not we agree or disagree with the suggestion, and we leave the
yeah,
conversation there.
awesome. So Brent, maybe last question. I'm so excited you're coming to Cleveland. The reviews have been great. The Vistage, people who've attended your sessions have said, hey, some of this has been life-changing. We talked a little bit, a couple of times, and I'm just share with everyone what inspired you, personally to kind of go down this path and what took you into this discovery and then your desire to share this with other leaders.
Rob, that's a powerful question. And as I have been wildly curious about the nature of human systems and the human condition, I believe that I'm not going to ask anyone to do something I haven't done myself.
Mm,
And what I started to focus on was really using my listening to pay attention to something that we don't always pay attention to, which is, well, what seems to be giving life to others and giving life to ourselves? Where am I spending time that creates life? Meaning there's
mhm,
more of me and more of those in the room as a result of the interaction. And I remember I was doing in sort of a generative listening marathon in Rochester, New York, where I did 7 back-to-back sessions, meaning morning, afternoon, morning, afternoon. And I was driving home. It's like a 5-hour drive home after this sprint, and I was just overflowing. And it was at that moment, this was about 3 years ago. It was
Yeah.
at that moment where I said, you know what? If I really pay attention to where the life is, then I need to be spending my life on this work. And
Yeah.
what that gave rise to was actually wrapping up a successful 20-year business in the agency space and launching Be Generative, which just celebrated its 1 year anniversary a couple of months ago, to bring this work out to the world. And now we have a team of 4 others that are in the field like me, bringing these experiences out to leaders and groups of human beings of all shapes and sizes all over North America.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Great. Well, congratulations on passing the 1 year anniversary. I attended last January. I went to Chair World, where all Vistage chairs learn how to become better chairs. And at the time, I attended it, a generative listening session, not knowing it was your program because you had two of your people running the program. Probably the best session I attended in the 3 days there. So I know the people attending this are really going to get a lot of value. So excited you're coming to Cleveland, Brent, and look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
Great. Thank you, Robin. Thanks for the invitation to take on this conversation with you.
You're very welcome. Take care. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll talk to you soon.